joining us to discuss. He's the chairman of the Hong Kong Legal Exchange Foundation and a barrister in Hong Kong, where he joins us from. Lawrence, hello there. Welcome to Global Watch. We've heard several officials argue Hong Kong's electoral system needs improvement. Are they making a strong case?
Well, yes, of course. Well, the reform is certainly necessary because district councillors comprise of 117 seats in the Chief Executive Election Committee. Now, the Chief Executive Election Committee has total 1,200 seats. So 117 seats would be very influential in determining who is elected as our Chief Executive. The central government believes that it is the plot of foreign powers to use these votes to try to put in a place a chief executive of their choice so as to dictate how Hong Kong should be run.
Right, and you mentioned foreign powers involvement. Is there any evidence that foreign powers are trying to infiltrate and influence the Hong Kong government?
Well, we have anecdotal evidence, and we, of course, if anyone who understands geopolitics, we all can feel that the United States government as well as the UK government, together with the Australian government, are very critical and hostile towards China. And many of them would wanted to topple the Communist Party's rule. And they have no hesitation in using Hong Kong as a pawn or as a place of subversion to overthrow or try to overthrow or otherwise destabilize the ruling party's power in Hong Kong and in China. That is an open secret to anyone who is in Hong Kong and is pretty well-known geopolitical fact.
But still, many international news outlets have been framing this law as Beijing clamping down on Hong Kong. How do you see their narrative like this?
Well, the reform actually gives a more democratic element towards the formation of the election committee. If you understand that the current nomination committee of the chief executive comprised of 1,200 people, 300 from the industrial, commercial, and financial sectors, 300 from the professionals, 300 from labor, social services, and religious sectors, and 300 from the political sectors. This reform will increase the nomination committee from 1,200 people to 1,500, expanding, not narrowing, expanding the political sector to include CPPCC members. Now, CPPCC members, in their full name, is Chinese People Political Consultative Conference members.
Mm-hmm.
They are local people. They're local people living here, working in Hong Kong, and they have various backgrounds, and they come from different social sectors. So they are very well equipped and very representative of the general community of Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm. And 2 years ago, the Hong Kong government said over 15% of the population lived in poverty, even after receiving welfare benefits, and house prices are some of the highest in the world. So why are electoral reforms being prioritized?
Well, yes, I agree. Well, before the reform, you have to understand that our Legislative Council comprised of 70 seats, and many legislators, to a certain extent, are controlled by property tycoons. They have a lot of influences. When the Hong Kong government wanted to put forward a housing policy to build cheaper housing for people, that would directly affect property prices in Hong Kong, and that would be detrimental to the interest of those property tycoons. So in the past years, housing reform has not been successful. Now, the electoral reform, this time, expanding the Legislative Council seats from 70 to 90, that will have the effect of diluting property tycoon influences and minimizing their resistance in the hope that some drastic measures can be successfully implemented to resolve Hong Kong's housing problems.
Thank you very much, Lawrence Ma, chairman of the Hong Kong Legal Exchange Foundation and a barrister in Hong Kong. Thank you very much for your insight.